hello everyone! It is that time of season again. It is the holiday season, which means I'm getting ready to make my Christmas cards. I'm actually getting a jump start on this. We're now in October, and when I'm filming this, I want to get them done early since I will be traveling for most of November and December. So I'm going to try to get these out and done before the second week of November so that everyone gets them on time. This year I've decided to do a nice little family portrait, not like an illustration like last year, and do some decorative details on the outside. Nice, simple, and easy. And I'm going to go ahead and film my process, and there'll be a voiceover so that you can learn the different techniques I did for each thing. Let's go ahead and get started. So, as usual, I have started with a basic sketch of what I want the portrait to look like, and I'm using a transfer paper to transfer the design onto Arch's hot press watercolor paper. I'm just using a mechanical pencil, and you can see when I darken the lines, that's the lines I'm transferring over. I don't do all of the lines, as you'll see. I do just as many lines as it takes for me to actually know that I can fill in the blanks without messing up the illustration. And as you can see, I'm trying to do a circle for the wreath that's going to go around us, and so I just used one of my paint palettes to get that perfect circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the faces. I have a really hard time with people. I always have, and I probably always will. So I always try to do the faces first, because then if I mess up, and then I'll have to start from scratch and start all over, and I don't want to have any more work than necessary. So if I finish everything else and then do the faces, there's a chance I'd have to redo everything else. So to avoid that, I do the faces first. I'm just blocking in basic color, and for this I'm using just a cheap brush that I got from Walmart. It's one of those like packs of 20 that you can have. I do have nicer watercolor brushes. Oop, there's one right now that's 0 and 00 and a 1 that are nice quality watercolor brushes, but I use the cheaper brushes for filling in basic color, just because they hold a lot of water really easily, and it also reduces the wear and tear on my nicer brushes. When I do people, I've always been taught that it's best to do a burnt sienna really, really lightly, very watered down. Add in some blues and reds to get the lifelike color in the face. If you actually look at people's faces, our skin is transparent, so you can see the veins underneath, and so we actually are multicolored depending on obviously your skin color. You're going to get different color variations. So if you just try to do one basic color when you're doing skin, it's going to look weird. You got to add in the different variations of color. Now, as you can see, I'm doing my hair, which right now is two-toned. And as always, I love to do little details. I'm using a very tiny brush. I believe this is the 00, which I absolutely love working with. It's so tiny, and I can get nice little tiny details with it. Alright, so I'm getting a little bored with that. I want to let that dry, so I'm going to work on the wreath. As usual, I am jumping around quite a bit. And I'm going to start with the Wreath Design. This I had a basic idea of what I wanted to do, but for the most part I kind of just put it together as I went and started playing with different designs. I knew I wanted a wreath with berries, and then I added in some little ornaments to fill in the blank spaces. This design was a lot of fun to do, and but it does take a lot of time. The little details take quite a lot of time, and so I continue to jump around. I'll jump back to the portrait, start working on the kitties, and I pulled up my phone so that I could pull up pictures of each of my cats. I have most of their personalities and basic head shapes pretty down as far as drawing them goes, but I don't always remember exactly all of their face markings, so I try to always have a picture up next to me so that I can get all of their little stripes right. Especially since they're all brown tabbies. Flux and Tiger both have the white, and right now I'm working on my little cross-eyed cat, Christopher. As with most watercolors, it's best to work from light to dark, and you will see that I added in the black first and then the brown. That's because I just wanted to get the markings right before I added in the brown, because he does have little cream colored spots under his eyes and on his chest, and I wanted to make sure they were in the right position before I placed in the brown. You'll see I briefly tried to fix Corey's thumb. Originally I was going to do the hand wrapped around the arm, but then I didn't like the way that looked, so I placed the thumb in the front. And that's mostly something that I will fix digitally, because it obviously will never look right on the original, since you can see the green of my shirt through the thumb. But I was able to fix that up in Photoshop. Now I'm back to working on the wreath and adding in more details while I let the rest of the cats dry. So I've had a lot of people ask me about all the details that I do, and sometimes my paintings actually get confused for drawings because people don't know that it's watercolor because it's such heavy color. So the reason for this is because I use a heavy concentration of color. So I do show my watercolor palette, and at certain times you'll see it. And you'll see that it does look like I use mostly water, but I do sometimes pull colors directly from the tube, and I don't water them down at all. So when you're using a nice watercolor set, and I'm using my Winsor Newton watercolors that come straight from the tube, I dip the paintbrush directly into the tube, and that's how I get those really vibrant, clean lines that don't look watered down like a typical watercolor. You can see I'm actually fixing a mistake there. I want to, whenever there is a mistake on the watercolor paper, especially when you're using a nice quality watercolor paper, you can easily wash out that area and then dab it with a paper towel, and you'll usually be able to get most of the color up from the page, especially if you do it right away, like as soon as you accidentally drop the wrong color. If you just add in a ton of water and then blot it out, it usually comes up. That's the benefit of using a really nice watercolor paper. It can take a lot of abuse versus the cheap stuff, which starts to deteriorate if you use too much water or do too many layers. Hey guys, I'm back working on my Christmas cards. I apologize if there's a change in lighting or any kind of jump ahead as far as the design goes. We ended up losing power while I was painting this, and we lost power for 2 days. So I have had to stop working on it, work on other things, come back to it now that we have power. So there may have been a jump. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this off today, so let's go ahead and do that. So after the power went out, I had to come back to this painting after a couple of days and finish up the details. So it was just a matter of, finishing Tiger up, adding in a few more details to Corey's hair and to our faces, our lips, and then finishing off the wreath. Oh, that was Tiger there to say hello as I was working on him, ironically. I tried to fix up the hand just a little bit more, make it a little bit more outlined. I hate drawing hands, and I don't like drawing people. It's always challenging for me. I much prefer animals and environments and even objects compared to people. Adding in a little bit more color and layers just because to me it's feeling just a little bit washed out. And I like my paintings to be very vibrant. Adding in some little finishing touches, filling in any blank spaces that I see. And here's a great chance to see my watercolor palette there, where I'm mixing colors directly and putting them on the canvas or paper, I should say. And now I'm just using a white watercolor straight from the tube to fill in all the little white spots and whiskers and eye pupils and jewelry and teeth. And a few little white highlights on some of the red berries. I think it adds a nice little touch. Lastly, after that is all dry, I add in the Happy Holidays, which is also done in watercolor. It's a lot easier to do in pen, but I don't have any red pens, so I chose to do it in watercolor. And there we are, all finished. So I went ahead and scanned it in and fixed a few of the mess ups in Photoshop, and this is the finished piece. I hope you enjoy, and happy holidays to you and your family. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, remember to live, love, and travel on. Bye!